Russia is sitting on a problem it can't escape. Not during the war in Ukraine, but after. Once hundreds of thousands of soldiers return home, the country could face chaos unlike anything it's seen in decades. The Kremlin knows it. The leadership knows it. And according to insiders, even Vladimir Putin himself worries about what comes next. Whatever the final outcome of the war, victory, defeat, or stalemate, one thing is certain: a flood of veterans will pour back into Russia. These are men hardened by one of the most brutal conflicts in recent memory, many of them trained to commit extreme violence and exposed to carnage for months or years. What happens when they try to reintegrate into a country already struggling under sanctions, corruption, and economic strain? The fear inside the Kremlin is social upheaval. They've seen this before. When the Soviet Union ended its war in Afghanistan, tens of thousands of embittered veterans came home. With no state support, many turned to crime. The Christian Science Monitor reported back in 2000 that alcoholism, drug abuse, and organized criminal activity became the path for countless former soldiers. They had fought for their country only to be neglected, even rejected by society, much like how Americans viewed returning Vietnam veterans. One retired Major General, Vladimir Kosarev, described it bluntly. They are absolutely neglected by the state, and the result is Afghansky syndrome, just like Vietnam syndrome. These men became foot soldiers of the Russian mob during the 1990s. The Guardian later revealed how gangs absorbed Afghanistan veterans as enforcers, bodyguards, and hitmen. For a man like Volodya, interviewed by reporters, the path was clear. He became a torpedo, a mafia term for hitman. At a time when an average worker earned $1 a day, veterans could make thousands by putting their wartime skills to use in the underworld. Now fast forward to today. The war in Ukraine is on a vastly greater scale. The number of soldiers Russia has committed dwarfs Afghanistan. And once again, insiders say the Kremlin fears history repeating itself. Take the case of Azamat Iskaliev. In 2021, he stabbed his wife to death. Faced with prison, he was instead sent to Ukraine to fight. After 6 months, he came home and murdered his girlfriend in the same way. In just 1 month of 2024, reports say 500 Russian civilians were victims of violent crimes committed by returning soldiers. 242 of them killed. Another case, a woman named Irina, attacked in November 2024 by a veteran who shouted, "I'm a veteran of the special military operation, I'm going to kill you." He beat her with his crutch, confident nothing would happen to him because of his service. Russia's own statistics show the trend. In the first half of 2025, the country recorded more than 333,000 serious crimes, a 10% increase from the year before, the highest in 15 years. These violent crimes are rising even as overall crime declines. A clear pattern is emerging, and the roots run deeper. Many of the men fighting aren't just ordinary conscripts, they're convicts. Between 120,000 and 180,000 criminals have been sent to Ukraine under a program that trades prison time for military service. With Russia's prison population halved since 2014, it's clear huge numbers of inmates have been emptied into the war. Think about that. Men who were already robbers, rapists, and murderers are now trained in combat, desensitized to violence, and then sent back into society. Not all will survive, but many will. The scale is staggering compared to Afghanistan. Around 100,000 Soviet soldiers served there. In Ukraine, Russia has suffered over 1 million casualties already, according to Ukraine's Ministry of Finance, with hundreds of thousands still fighting. The sheer numbers mean the consequences will be magnified many times over. And there's another problem: money. Soldiers in Ukraine are being paid far more than the average Russian. A first-year recruit earns about $62,000, 4 times the national average wage of roughly $14,600. Many also receive signing bonuses around $15,500 untaxed. For some, this is life-changing money. But once the war ends, pay will plummet. That gap is dangerous. Men accustomed to high wartime pay may not tolerate a return to civilian poverty. And when those same men are already trained in violence, some with criminal pasts, the temptation to turn to organized crime grows strong. Then there's the risk of rebellion. The Kremlin saw how quickly things spiraled during Yevgeny Prigozhin's Wagner mutiny in June 2023. Within hours, thousands of mercenaries had seized military bases and were marching on Moscow. The rebellion collapsed within a day, but it showed how fragile Putin's grip could be when faced with armed men loyal to one another, not to him. At its peak, Wagner had about 50,000 fighters, most of them convicts. Today, Russia has sent over 640,000 soldiers to Ukraine, with up to 180,000 convicts among them. Imagine if even a fraction of these men organized themselves after the war. Driven by anger, low pay, and betrayal, a march like Wagner's could happen again, only larger. Putin's options would be grim. He could order the Russian military to fire on its own veterans, or he could face being overthrown by the very men he sent to Ukraine. So what's Russia doing to prepare? A few token measures. The central election. Commission says 1,600 veterans have been nominated for local elections in 2025. An attempt to buy loyalty with political power. But that's just a tiny fraction of the hundreds of thousands who will return. There's also a time of heroes, a program designed to retrain veterans for civilian life.
On paper, it sounds like a way to help.
In practice, it's an elite scheme that barely touches the problem. Out of 44,000 applicants, only 83 were accepted, just 0.1%. Those few will get a master's degree in career support. The rest are left behind, angrier than before. In other words, Russia has no serious safety net for its returning soldiers. Just as after Afghanistan, veterans will come back scarred, disillusioned, and far poorer than they were at war. Many will drift into crime. Others may form militias, and some could even turn their weapons back on the Kremlin. The very army Putin built to conquer, Ukraine may one day destabilize Russia itself.